I think everyone with headphones just got ripped. Anyway, we're here with JC again and Mr.
Let's see who
Alex.
we're gonna
Thank you
get
for
on
joining
testing
us
grounds
today.
this time.
Problem.
I saw you in the back cracking up. JC, how you been, man?
I'm pretty good. Ah! What's going on there? Oh, jeez. I actually have a real hat.
You got pranked, guys. You got pranked. Holy shit.
You okay? Okay.
Check it. Yeah.
So we're talking testing grounds.
Yeah.
There's all this candy, and I've overindulged.
Yeah,
as you can
it's
see.
a bit of a problem, I see.
Yeah, no, it's not a problem. It's a solution.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's funny, someone said before, it's my
Mindset,
strong
right?
hand.
But we got stuff coming to testing grounds. We're doing stuff with dodge attacks,
Yeah.
apparently.
Yeah.
That's kind of a little bit technical.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
So those of you who don't like technical stuff, too bad.
You're gonna like it,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So let me get into it.
It's not hero
We're
relux.
doing something, right? So with this testing grounds, we're testing something a little bit different. We're looking at we're doing dodge attack updates and
I'm
dodge,
down for different stuff.
changes to dodges and dodge attacks in general, right? So we're doing this because we've been seeing it quite a bit online, and we've seen it ourselves as well. Like we're not blind. That a lot of the time, there's a risk-reward ratio there that is really, really heavily skewed towards the defender, especially when they have heavy dodge attacks, right? Because you parry them, you get hit by a little light afterwards, nothing much happens, and generally it's like, well, it feels like it's my best option is always to do side dodge heavy, right? There's a reason why dodge heavy is a crazy team, right?
Yeah. And
So-
I mean, we made fun of people when Griffin came out because they were like, I don't know how to handle this. And we're like, literally just parry.
Right?
Yeah.
But then the thing is, yes, just parry, but the problem ends up being that risk reward matrix I was talking about is kind of the unbalanced towards the defender, right? Because you do it every single time. Your opponent always has to feint to neutral, parry, get a light, then you throw another attack, your opponent still dodges into a heavy, and rinse and repeat, right? So we're trying to solve that issue a little bit, going into it where it's more favored towards the attacker, more favored towards skillful play. We want players to do side dodge heavies side dodge attacks in general, right? When they feel it is the best tool for the situation and not the default response to every single attack.
It's not like, this is safe, I'm going to do it, this is safe.
Right, exactly, right? So we're going towards that. And on top of that, we're also looking at dodges themselves and adapting some of the things there so that it opens up a door towards better mix-ups in general, right? Right now, one of the big issues that we have is that when we do undodgeable attacks that are not from front dodge, we have to have at least 2 stances every single time, because otherwise what you can do with a lot of heroes is just block in one direction, dodge into the other, and then you end up blocking a side dodge attack. Like if it's a single direction, right? If it's only top, for a lot of heroes you can just block top and then side dodge.
Right.
And then you beat both the bash and the undodgeable. So that's a bit of our problem here, and it's really forcing us to spread out undodgeable all across the stances all the time. So we're looking at a way that we're doing something where this is going to be less of a problem. That's one of the things we're going to be testing here. That should be pretty cool. So Alex, you want to tell us like what the changes are a little bit, quick?
Yes, but the switch is not active.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Does it matter? Just go through the PowerPoint there, and then we can go into it.
Dead magic broke.
All right. So first of all, the first thing we're looking at is whenever you parry a dodge attack now, you will always be able to retaliate with a heavy attack. So the same thing as if you were to parry a light attack. So here we're saying, okay, I see an attack, I want a dodge attack. Well, I'm taking a risk because instead, like the trade-off in damage is going to be a bit better for the person who baited the dodge attack, basically. So you're going to have to think a little bit more about it.
Basically flipping it
Interesting.
from like doing that heavy parry and eating a light to doing a light parry and eating a heavy.
Exactly.
You just like, whoop.
I'm assuming they're going to
Which was
show
gonna
us
be the big
anyway
problem
in the
here,
game, right?
I do a dodge attack. I don't care if I get parried.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, now it's a big deal. I got to actually think about it, right?
Right. So if you want to see, like, you can try it out, Alex.
Yeah, but
Oh yeah. Eh? Okay. So we have a bit of a technical issue here. We can go back to the PowerPoint
yes.
and keep going through it.
man.
It broke.
And yeah, so the other thing that we have here is that not only are side dodge heavies, they're not light parry punishes, right? So every time you parry a side dodge heavy, you can get a heavy attack. it's also applied to side dodge bashes as well.
happened?
So on side dodge bashes, they can no longer chain on miss, and they're always guard break vulnerable. So if you read, if you have like a shinobi in your face, or I don't know, like whoever else has a side, like a conqueror, for example, right? They're gonna do side dodge bash. If you read that, you do side dodge into guard break, and then it's always gonna land. They can't chain on miss, they can't do any of those things. So the idea is whenever you successfully read that your opponent is going to do a side dodge attack, you always get at least a heavy's worth of damage.
Boom.
Depending on some heroes, sometimes it's a little bit more of a light parry or whatever, but that's kind of like the idea here. So that's super, super interesting. It's something I've seen being requested a ton on Reddit. Like even yesterday, even this morning, there was a thread about people going, you know, if you were dev for just one day, what would you do, right?
Yeah.
Again, proof that I read Reddit. And one of the changes that somebody put, like a lot of people put, all side dodge heavy should be like parries, right?
What'd you guys
testing
think
that
of
right
this?
now. Super awesome. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I think
And-
Freeze has mentioned this a few times.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
in
So a
his
lot of people
videos
have
as
been
well.
mentioning a lot of that stuff. So that goes really well.
From
I know,
his volcano
yeah,
place.
yeah. When we had our workshop with some of the pro players, when we revealed Medjai before, they actually tested this and they all loved it. So I don't want to speak for them, but Freeze had a massive smile on his face. That it was awesome, even though it was from home. I could only see from the
It's
camera.
like, this is everything I
Yeah,
need in
this
my
is everything
life.
I need. That was good.
That's my best Freeze impersonation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's I'll leave it to Alex to, like, if you want to fix
Oh,
stuff.
do we have the switch fixed? Not the
Yeah, okay.
switch, like the switch.
Yeah,
not
'cause
the, not the switch. The switch.
Little bit of info, like the way we work often with when we do our builds is that we have little switches we can turn on
Yeah,
and
this
off
is good,
to turn on stuff from testing grounds.
Yeah,
or
I'm really
whatever switches
interested to
we're
see
working on.
this.
So that's what Alex is going to fix. Okay, so that's a bit of a nerf, right? Because those dodge attacks, because they're more vulnerable, it becomes a bit more difficult to
This
use
is a
them.
long
But one of the things
Warriors
that
Den,
we've
isn't
been
it?
doing at the same time, which is a bit of a buff to this, right? So we want to equalize things a little bit, is that we've made that every single dodge attack can now be delayed from at least 2 to 400 MS.
Oh, okay.
So before, a lot of the newer ones we had been doing were static at 300. So let's say Hitokiri, for example,
So
could
this
do,
is more of like a standardization.
right, yeah, it's more of a standardization, but some heroes that had more are keeping more, some heroes that had more are like slowing, we're changing things a little bit around. So
And is this just side dodge attacks?
it's just side dodge attacks, right? So front dodge, back dodge for like Orochi or whatever, those are unchanged. It's really only side dodge ones. So it really helps with the comfort for the input first, right? Because you can side dodge and do whatever. But it's also really interesting because you can extend your iframes, do them super quick, get all that stuff going. So that works really, really well. It's super interesting there, so that works quite well. And then the other change that we've done, well, I'll let these guys figure the rest of the stuff out, is we have what we call again, like there's iframes, right? So you know what iframes are?
Yeah.
I spoke about them
Yeah,
a little bit earlier.
vulnerability frames.
Right? Okay.
You
But-
cannot take as a damage.
Yeah, right. So, but the thing is, when we're dodging, our iframes were speed dependent. And by that I mean, if you're dodging into a wall, your iframes would go away because you hit a wall. You had to reach a certain
like
speed.
Character speed
Yeah,
dependent.
character speed dependent, right? So whenever you dodge, once you reach a specific threshold, you would gain iframes. And if you stop because you hit a wall, you hit an ally, an enemy, a minion, whatever, your iframes would go away. That made it super hard to do stuff in team fights. It made it really, really difficult to get there. So
Especially like in the minion lanes.
yeah,
It
the minion
gets
lane,
all the
it
time.
feels
No
terrible,
moving,
right?
no grooving.
Oh, okay.
So
Pain
we've
town.
removed those, and they are no longer speed dependent. So if you dodge into a wall, you keep your iframes. If you dodge into minions, whatever those situations are, you keep your iframes, right? So that's really,
Nice.
really good.
I
But
think I
to
like. Yeah,
compensate
that's.
for this, and to also help us have what I was talking about before with the undodgeables, is whenever you dodge, see, you can see your Hitokiri
So we
dodging
can
right
see
now.
it now, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we,
Let's
see it
we
now, right?
fix the thing.
So
see.
if you pay attention, you see like Hitokiri when he's standing still has the little block widget there, right? So you see he's blocking top or whatever. Normally, when you dodge, you keep those for most heroes, except like reflex guard heroes are a little bit different. But every single static hero static hero keeps their defense while they're dodging. Sometimes it forces change. Sometimes it stays where it was at. And in a lot of cases, this is problematic because, like I was saying earlier, if I could do this with Shinobi, like Hito could block top and then side dodge and always block it. And it would negate every single mix-up I could do.
I love
And then
that.
that's why Shaolin, in this example, had to have undodgeable on at least 2 stances, and usually we put it on all 3 to make it a bit more uniform.
That
But
is
with
a
this
fucking
change,
good change.
every single hero now loses their defense while they are dodging. Now, this doesn't mean that like reflex guard heroes or heroes that have superior block, for example, lose them. They still keep those special properties while they're dodging, but everybody else kind of acts like Valkyrie does right now, right? So Valkyrie right now on live, even after a rework, doesn't keep her defense while she's dodging, but now everybody is like that.
Okay, so kind of a passive buff.
Kind of a passive buff to Valk, right?
bit.
But because we're changing, because we're changing around because we're changing around the iframe stuff, it makes it so that you're still able to defend, still able to dodge, still able to do all those things, and you get into a good situation, right?
Again, it's always we want you to think about your
Exactly,
action
right? We want to really reward skillful play and not just mindlessly do stuff and go, whoa, whatever, I don't know what I'm doing.
And so for those who don't know what to look for when you see like Hito's soul leaving his body, that is also the soul of dodge attack spammers leaving their body right now in the chat.
Yeah, and so we can see right now, Alex can do a couple of dodge attacks here. See, and that's a light parry. Boom, I get a heavy every single time.
I appreciate you throwing the top heavy for me.
Right, so, and you can still, like, dodge attacks still work, right? You can still use them,
Hurry it, come on.
and it's still
You know
okay.
that you can you have a bit more comfort.
Yeah.
You can delay it a bit more, see what's going on.
Yeah,
Oh,
see, 'cause for
man.
Shaolin, before, you could only, like, really do them
Damn.
here. But now you can do them super early, and you can do them really late. Right, so that's like the late time we were talking about.
yeah.
It really, really helps in those situations. That's really amazing. And then if you want to show off the iframes, Alex, if you want to go
Yes,
to a
I was
corner.
going to ask you to do that.
Yeah, right, thank you.
Because this, I love this because sometimes like I'm bad and I get stuck in corners
Yeah.
and then I just get murked by 3 different people and I'm like, I don't know
So,
that
yeah,
I
so right now
wanted
on
to be
live,
here.
right, yeah, so right now on live, if like Hito had his guard to the side or whatever, and I threw a top heavy and he back dodged, he could not dodge it. And now, like, this could not happen on live right now. So because you keep your iframes while you're dodging into the wall, then you end up being able to escape situations and dodge out of situations. A lot of the times, this type of stuff, if you have a bash, you can't do anything right now on live. And it becomes really frustrating. You get kind of stuck in the corner, and you have to hope that by you mash dodge, and I'm gonna like squeeze out of the corner. Now, no problem, you can always just back dodge, side dodge, you're gonna avoid everything. Works super, super, super well in this instance.
Yeah, I think it's C on Gauntlet. You tend to get pushed in that corner.
Yeah, there's a
And
lot
it
of
just,
those.
Like it just happens all the time, and then
That's
you
it.
got the trap to worry about.
Even in this map, right? This is a competitive duels map. There's a lot of those little corners at a bunch of places, right? So we want to make sure that you're able to escape those situations and
That's a big
defend
change.
yourself when you get
Really
trapped
good,
in those
though.
situations. So overall, that's it. The goal of the testing grounds is really, really to change up the risk-reward matrix there, so that dodge attacks are still good. We still want people to use them. We still have them in the game. We just added them to heroes that didn't have them, right? We wouldn't do that if we didn't want to have them. But at the same time, spamming dodge attacks now should not be as useful. And again, it's really about rewarding skillful play. You have to think when you're doing dodge attacks and not just, I see an attack, I dodge attack all the time, right? It's still really good against lights. It's still really good against bashes. Against heavies, you're taking a big risk. Right? And you can, like, it lands, you're gonna deal what, like 14, 15 damage? You get parried, you take at least 24, if not 27, or even more in case of some other heroes. So that's kind of like the big change
so
here.
just flipped the trade from defender to
Exactly, right? We really wanted to have that kind of balance there to change out a little bit.
These changes,
So that's it for this testing
including
ground.
the
I know
post,
a lot of
patch
players
notes and stuff,
really hoping
good.
to see Yorm in this TU. We want to take our time. What a good friend, what a hammer. This is a great hammer, by the way. Like, thank you, Andre, from our dev tester team, who made this beautiful hammer. I can officially announce that the testing grounds for Jormungandr is going to be in the next season. So, year 6, season 4. We're gonna have the testing grounds for Yorm in there. We've been taking our time a little bit with it because it's a challenging character to rework. Vanessa's team, we went to mocap with them. We worked tirelessly with them to make sure that we have new animations, new attacks, new stuff for Yorm.
Damn,
We know
man.
people love the character.
Let's go,
right? And
man.
we love the
Fucking
character
hype for
too.
that.
But the way the character was built, and a lot of people say, like, we've seen tier lists, right, where like Yorm is always at the bottom, and we really want the hero to be viable. Doesn't mean we're aiming for like a S tier must pick all the time, but really that we can play with the character, that it's fun to play with, it's fun to play against, and have really interesting tools. But to do that, we did have to go back to mocap, make new attacks, add new things to really get into that groove of we're gonna make almost a brand new hero out of him, which is super, super cool. I know Alex been playing with him quite a bit.
It's amazing.
Everybody's super hyped. Again, when we did the workshop, we had a work in progress version of the hero going there. And everybody was super excited about it as well. So it's like we're all really, really hyped for Yorm. So
it's awesome. I'm so excited. And there was like someone in chat earlier. I think it was like Shantycat 1266 or something. It wasn't him. It was someone else. But they were like, "Oh, so you can mocap a giant spider, but you can't mocap moves." And I'm happy to say, suck it.
yeah,
Like you picked the wrong stream to say that.
yeah, right. And so sometimes it also like I know it can feel like it takes a long time for us to rework some characters and like blah, 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 but at the same time when we're looking at characters like Yorm, like Nusha, like others, it does take time, especially when we do have to go back to mocap. Like all these things take a long time, but we want to get it right. We want to make sure that we do right by players. Players are sticking by Nusha and Yorm and all that sort of stuff. So we want to make sure that we do it right. We're not ready to announce a Nusha rework yet. Again, like I said, Yorm, we started this Yorm rework 6 months ago. It takes a long time to really, really get into it, get the nitty-gritty details out, and get them right.
No, I think that's the thing. Like, not a lot of people who just like, you know, they play the game, they engage with it, they love it. They're like, For Honor's awesome. It's like been a part of my life for whether it's like 6 months or 6 years. And but they don't really, you know, have exposure to like just how long this stuff takes. And it's like, yeah, we want to do this rework on a character we know needs it, but it takes like this much time, or we can do like a whole bunch of changes to like 7 characters, but all those changes only take this much time, and it's like, well, time versus impact.
It's when our niche is
to the
coming
community, and like there's a lot we have to consider in that. So it's like, well, if 80% of the community can have better gameplay in the meantime while we work on this other stuff, then that's how we roll.
Exactly, right? And that's what's really important to us. And like, we know that people are always going, oh yeah, what about balancing? What about reworks and stuff? And we really, really want to work on them as much as we can. But like you said, sometimes we have to strike a balance a little bit, of
balancing
like,
balance.
How long we take to do like specific reworks versus doing a bunch of hero changes and stuff and getting into it and getting the best game possible we can. And getting the most balanced game we can.
Probably
Clearly,
Nusha more than
nothing has perfect balance, but
definitely Nusha.
The better we can get there, the more enjoyable it is for everybody, and the better it is. So that's super cool.
Nusha and Yarmungand are 2 big ones.
There's more?
Well, no, I mean,
Hayes here.
Yeah. The feedback, right? So we love getting feedback. We want everyone's feedback. If you like this, if you hate this, if you like one part of it but you don't like the other, like any sort of feedback that we can get, we love it. I want to hear everything, right? You can tell me that you don't like what I'm doing. It's fine. But at the end of the day, it's the most feedback we get, the better it is. And do not hesitate. Like, you can go on Reddit, like I said, whenever these things happen, we get testing grounds.
You're there, I'm there.
The weekend, the weekend after, I'm on like, my wife's getting mad at me because I'm on Reddit all weekend. So it's like a lot of
every Saturday. My wife is like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Work stuff." And she's like, "But we have plans." And I'm like, "But For Honor,
right, it's our life." So that's the thing, right? So all the feedback, we look at it, we read it, we pour through it. I watch, I know Alex too, like, we all watch, like, all the videos that content creators make, everything. We need to get into why players like things, why they dislike things, and we know, because we also play the game, but we want to get to a point where everybody's feedback is considered. We're not just going, oh, the pros love this, or, like, more casual players love this. No, it's like everybody's feedback goes into consideration, and we make choices based on that. And we really want to have as much feedback as we can on all of those things.
That's good, man.
And so that's what I wanted to say. Like, it's very important to us.
That's why we love
so,
JC. That's why JC's the man.
But yeah, I think that's it for this segment.
That's it for the segment, yeah.
So we will be right back with some content of the week and a few other things. So Nolan will be back to join me for that. JC, Alex, thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you everyone watching for bearing with us through the technical issues. But we'll be right back with content of the week.